This couch is amazing, don't you think, Hugo? Oh.
I wanted to do this all day, sit on this couch.
Yeah.
So I made it.
Achievement unlocked.
Yeah.
So, hi everyone. My name is Henk van de Schuur. This is my friend Hugo Trippaers. We are thrilled to be here. And we are on a mission to bring business closer to DevOps. And you know, what we see a lot is that many DevOps teams are celebrating DevOps and the successes thereof. But at the same time, business is still operating rather isolated. Well, it's the business who is responsible for setting the requirements, prioritizing them, and actually also paying for them in many cases. And simultaneously, it's exactly DevOps who bring the sometimes also needed common sense and non-functional sense to, let's say, the feature creep that's often induced by the business. So we've come up with this figure, it's actually 2 years ago, BizDevOps, like as we call it, and it all starts with the business at the top, right? So there is a desire that gets defined and articulated in nice requirements, and then, well, development gets these requirements, gets hopefully to build a nice and sound software product that is then valued by its end users, hopefully. And then when it goes into production, telemetry is gathered, through which business then again can verify or falsify their expectations regarding the software value, end user behavior, etc. And while this might, well, sound like a sound system, you might also see that it can be really challenging actually to bring business and DevOps together, especially when you're like us in a more of a customer-supplier relationship, because then business and DevOps are kind of separated by definition. Yeah. Let's talk a bit about that, about the challenges that occur there.
Yeah. So let's talk about the system. So what Henk mentioned is something we all know, right? We all have seen this BizDevSecOps trend, and we're all working it, and we're all trying to achieve it. It's already difficult if you try to achieve it in an existing company, in a company that's supposed to work together towards a common goal. Now we see a system where, for example, a company like us sends over a team to a customer to help them achieve their success. And suddenly you get a more complex scenario, because in between this whole DevOps movement, suddenly you get contracts and you get money involved. And I think we all know that the moment money is involved, things get very complex.
Yeah.
So what we would like to do today is, in the next couple of minutes, take you through 3 of our cases that we've had in the past, where we try to solve this problem of dealing with contracting and still maintaining the soul of the system, which is the essence of getting DevOps done and making sure that everybody works together in a cooperation to achieve a common goal.
Let's go. Hey, Hugo. Welcome, buddy. This is my bank. It's called Moneu. And I have this awesome mid-layer I need to build. I need 19 APIs from you. I think we need about like 6 months, half a year max. 550, what's your price?
God. So I think we've all been here, right? Actually, some of you actually have been there. But this is something that really frequently happens in contracting. Customer knows best, of course, so the customer already understands what the problem is. They know how to solve it. They just want you to bring in a few developers, name your price, and get it done. Well, I think we're all familiar with the next picture. This is the cone of uncertainty. So what happens is we are completely at the start of this cone. We don't know what's going on. We don't know what it's going to look like. We don't know how complex the APIs, and still in businesses, what they expect us to be able to do as development teams or as an external party is say, oh, okay, it's going to cost you 200,000 euros. Oh, that's too expensive. Do it for half. Okay, fine. We do it for half. What happens? It doesn't work, right? So 2 years in the project, 135 APIs later, and we might actually be ready to go live. So what happened, this contract was made on a time material basis. So we said, okay, we cannot do the estimation because we're at the complete beginning of this project. So the only thing we can do is actually tell you this is a cost per hour for our developers, and we just start work. So we worked for a couple of years, got all the APIs running. In the end, the project worked, but the customer wasn't really happy because the customer budgeted we needed 19 APIs, and he negotiated the cost down to a couple of hours. But yeah, completely didn't work. Unhappy customer, successful project, unhappy customer. So we needed to try something different.
Yep. Hey Hugo, welcome back again. I'm in leasing nowadays, and I can tell you we are amazing at leasing. We are not so much amazing in digitization, automation, and the digital transformation, as you might see from the picture. And you know, we have this bank, this core, digital core. It's Oracle-based. Licenses need to be renewed. It's going to be a financial disaster. So really, I need your help. We need a digital core. By the way, I don't like the time materials from last time because things got delayed, and it was all the risk was on my side. So please come up with a new model.
Yeah, I got you. We've got this new thing. We got a thing called Scrum. Does anybody here know Scrum? Yeah, okay, yeah. It works with story points, right? So that's amazing, because now we can actually measure velocity of the teams. And well, if you measure velocity of teams, you know what the teams are producing in terms of outcome. So we can make it very simple, Henk. What we're going to do is actually, we're going to make you a model where you pay us by story point delivered.
Awesome.
Because we have a commitment, you get a price per story point, we do more, we do what you expect. We get paid more, we do a little bit less, not your risk, we get paid a little bit less.
I get your point. So delay is now, if there is a project delay, it's the risk is shared between us, basically.
Exactly. I have a little bit of skin in the game, you have skin in the game.
I like this a lot.
This is going to work.
Okay.
This. So what happened here is, okay, it worked in a sense because, yeah, velocity is a measure of progress. So you can put a value in it, but yeah, we all know. I think we actually had it in a presentation earlier today. It's the outside loop, right? So we priced the inside loop, but we forgot about the outside loop for people that followed that presentation. Meaning that we covered all the technical stuff. So we covered the yellow part, which is the development part. We covered the red part, which is operations, which somehow you can mangle into Scrum. But all the blue bits are all the overhead bits. So suddenly the refinement sessions weren't about, okay, how do we achieve this feature? What kind of technical solution do we select? But actually more like, yeah, can we commit to this? Because yeah, it's our financial future that hangs on the line here. Every meeting is more about, it's a stand-up, is more like, okay, are we achieving what we want? And are we doing enough to make the invoice worth it? So we have an enormous amount of overhead in meetings. Actually, we have meetings everywhere. So this entire blue bit, you see towards the end of the project, the blue bars get even exceedingly high.
So you're saying I'm actually paying for the meetings you are having?
Yes, absolutely, because it's time I'm spending on your project, right? So yeah, you get to pay me for all the work I do to allow you to pay me for the work I should be doing.
But I don't like the overhead, Hugo. Okay. We need to do this differently.
Okay.
Let's go to the train domain. Hugo, these trains are awesome. I can tell you the train domain in the Netherlands is super futuristic. You know why? They have DevOps.
Trains have DevOps?
Yes.
You got to explain that one.
You know DevOps, right? So you have like the party responsible for the infrastructure, ProRail in this case, is separate from the party that's actually using it, NS, that's us. And we are really working closely together, right? So this is the future, the physical manifestation of DevOps. Next level, dude.
Okay, but I can raise you one up with next level because you're saying time materials. I did a story point model, right? Didn't like it, but I tweaked it. I completely fixed it. I took in account that we have multiple teams. I took in account that we have all this overhead. Here, I'll show you.
Let's go back to time materials because it was too much overhead. And I'm going to tender this because...
Trust me, this is going to be awesome. Look.
Okay.
See?
Oh my God. And then,
So
what is this?
I actually have a sample invoice.
Oh my God.
Do we have any mathematicians in the room?
I need a PhD for
Okay, then I'm going to talk to you. We might be able to improve this model. But actually, if this was over-engineered. I mean, we've all been there. This was completely over-engineered. It worked. We got it down to, well, the third digit after the comma. We could build an invoice. But here's the crux of the story. We missed a very important part here. We started focusing on reporting. We started focusing on getting the numbers right. And what we were missing was the really important part. Because what we've created here is Excel hell.
Yeah, it's missing soul, to put it like that, Hugo. And I think you've created a monster here. I really need a PhD to understand this invoice. Maybe we should go back to basics, Hugo. Go back to like the start. Let me organize a meeting with my NS colleagues and see what we can do. You know, what I would like you to have is some skin in the game. That's the part I like from all the experience. Yeah, and I want to have the right conversation together and to know what's the value being delivered.
Okay, fair enough. But you've got to understand me as well. I want to make sure that I have a long-term contract. I would like a little bit of skin in the game, but I need to have some predictability as well to make it worth my while to actually spend all those hours and have a long-term outlook. How are we going to combine this? I think I have a solution. What if we say we build a team fee? I give you a number of developers, and we say, okay, this is the people that we're going to do the work with. Fixed fee, so we don't calculate all the stupid stuff like hour registration, management overhead, vacation, etc.
So just one fixed price.
One fixed price.
Okay.
But I'm going to give you, as a customer, the ability to say, you guys did a good job. I'm going to add a little bit of the fee. But also, if you think we're not doing a good job, you give us a little bit less.
Okay. So, but how do I then decide when something is right or wrong or good enough? What are the knobs I can turn?
Well, I think that's where we need to work within the system. So by setting up a conversation, it sounds scary, I know, conversations, especially with tech people. But if we set up a conversation and we say, why don't we look at why we started working together as partners in this? Well, not actually partners, as a supplier relationship. We have a goal, we have a mutual understanding of the problem, and there's something we want to achieve. So working within the way that we're organized with quarterly sprints, what if we set a number of objectives? And we're not only going to make those objectives hard targets, like we want to achieve a certain project or we want to achieve a certain goal, but also some soft targets, like how are we doing on training? Because you've hired us as a company, you've hired us for a reason. Let's check every quarter if we're still doing what you actually hired us to do.
Okay,
And that should give you the knobs to turn.
Yeah. Okay, so if I understand you correctly, I get goals like these on top of our regular amazing safe epics and safe goals that we define each and every sprint and quarter.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we have a check-in midterm to see how it's going. And I get to decide at full discretionary, at full discretion, what is the bonus.
Absolutely.
Okay, I like this.
So,
what's the verdict on this latest DevOps iteration, you might ask? Well, actually, it turned out to be quite successful, I think I can say. So let's have a look. Hugo.
yeah. So, quite successful indeed. We can talk for a lot about the picture, but I think we have ample time to do a bit of a recap. So if you look at what we've done over these few iterations, we went from a time materials to an overly complex model back to actually something that's really simple. But the actual reason we're having this talk is because we actually think we're onto something here. And I think a lot of people call it agile contracting. A lot of people that I've talked to over the last 2 days actually have a lot of questions about this. But for us, it was a little bit back to basics, like how do we have the conversation with the customer? What's the primary driver to engage with your customer in a in a meaningful way that discusses actually how you deal with DevOps, how you deal with making progress, and how we align the goals we want to achieve together with the customer. Because if you look at a simple time materials, the actual goal of the company is to have a project done, and the goal of the supplier company is to make as many hours as possible, because that's how we make money, right? In this model, we actually are both talking about how can we do a little bit more. And that has two effects. So first of all, for the company, us, as being the supplier, we get to think, okay, where can we add value? We're constantly looking because, of course, we're overachievers, so we want that 10%. We don't just want to make money, we want to make a shitload of money. So let's see what we can do to focus on the 10% and see how we can do a little bit more just to be able to say, hey, we're worth the effort, we're worth the money that we're getting. On the other hand, our customer was forced to actually think about, okay, why did I hire these people? How can we put them in a position where they actually give the best of themselves, and how can we make sure that they work very well with our team so we can have this extra benefit of having experts on the floor, having people that can coach and guide our teams. Basically, what's a little bit of a step extra?
And to add to it, Hugo, I think from business, we really got a better sight and a clearer insight in what's actually happening from an engineer's perspective. So we have the right conversation, and we come together and bring basically business and development together then. And whilst having this conversation, I think it's really about meeting each other, looking each other in the eye, and having the actual conversation, the real conversation. And so that's not always easy, but we like to prevent the situation where like all dashboards are green, and then you have the customer still has a wrong or bad feeling about it. That would not be good.
Yeah, what we here have a couple of pictures, and actually the top picture is one of the meetings that we actually had with a customer, where we now on a quarterly basis sitting down and discussing together how can we actually achieve that. And it also frees up my time, so you can actually see me sitting there in the train, doing the fun stuff that I really like, because I don't want to spend time organizing all my hours, minutes, and doing all kinds of funky calculations in Excel. I actually want to do engineering. That's what I'm good at, so let me do my engineering. Important part is that we also get to celebrate when we actually make the 10%. So that was nice. I think I remember most of that celebration.
Yeah, and if we do well as a team, this basically repeats every quarter, right? So you have a party every quarter. One more thing, Hugo. I think it's also good to say it does require some unlearning for most people. So if you're raised in a corporate environment with dashboards, management reporting, all the like, then it takes a bit of unlearning to think in terms of feelings and how do you feel? What is your feeling about our performance the last quarter? Instead of like, hey, can't we create a KPI for this, or can't we make this smart? Well, no.
Yeah. And I think that's actually the key in why we named this presentation the soul of the system, because the feeling part is difficult, and at first it feels very uncomfortable to go and sit there with your customer and just say, hey, what do you actually think about what we've been doing over the last month? It's confronting, it's uncomfortable, because the first few times you might actually get it wrong, and yeah, especially when you're starting a new partnership, it requires a little bit of knowledge of each other to say, hey, what actually helps, and how do you get this going? So you're putting a little bit of yourself, a little bit of your soul into a project. So that's why we named it Adding Soul to the System.
Yeah, on that bombshell. This was what we had to share, and our story about adding some soul to the system and bringing business and DevOps together. Thanks a lot. If you have any questions.